There are a lot of scary headlines out there right now when it comes to residential real estate, including this one. But it is true. There are 51% more listings to choose from for buyers this time versus roughly the same time last year. But let's see if we can put that in a little bit of context. I'm Ron Milligan with RE/MAX Select here in Portland's Pearl District, and I have got the real estate market weekly update for you. So let's start with the active listings, which is always the biggest story. The supply side of the supply and demand equation. Right now, what we have is 4672 versus the previous week, 4243. And if you look at this chart, you can see that the number of active listings continues to rise and rise and rise. And we do have, when I went back and checked my notes for roughly the same time period last year, we do have 51% more listings to choose from. Last year, the number was 3,091. So that is significant. That's a much bigger number than we've been dealing with. However, I did go back and plot the, in another video, did plot the month of May going back 10 years for the number of active listings. So if you check out this chart is a little bit different because it's just for the Portland metro area. And it doesn't include anything north of the border. The sampling that we do in our office for our weekly statistics is for both Oregon and Washington. What you can see here is at the end of May, we had 2782 listings. And when I checked the numbers just a couple of days ago for this exact area, we came in just shy of 4,000 active listings. So it's gone up considerably since the end of May to the end of June. But looking at this chart, we're looking at years like 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, which were all pretty good years. Those were seller's advantage years, but they weren't anything like what we experienced last year, which was a bonkers year. You know, so comparing today's active listings to what we saw last year is probably not a fair comparison just because last year was such a crazy year and the inventory was incredibly tight. So we are up versus last year, but if we look at these previous years for the month of May, and just use the month of June, 4,000 listings or so, just shy of 4,000. We're doing as well as 2016, 2017, and better than 15, 18, 19 certainly. And then if we go back further, the further we go back in time, the closer we're getting to the mortgage meltdown and the insanity that was there. I looked up 2011. I didn't include it in this chart, but the number of active listings for May in 2011 was over 11,000 listings. So sitting here at 4,000 doesn't feel quite as bad. The question is, where are we going to stop? The next 2 weeks are going to be a little bit weird. We're not going to get a lot of good information just because, I don't know if you've been out driving around, but the streets are pretty clear. I haven't run into a traffic jam. I'm getting into work 12 minutes flat. So I think a lot of folks have taken the week before 4th of July off, and they're definitely going to be taking the week of 4th of July off. And that includes realtors, which means that houses don't get shown and listings don't get posted to the MLS. So the next couple of weeks, I think are going to be really quiet, not going to give us a lot of information. What happens after that, I think, is going to be significant and telling about where we're going to land. Hopefully, it'll be telling about where we're going to land with this real estate market. So the other side of that equation are the number of new pending transactions. The new pendings were at 735 versus the previous week, 729. We'd obviously love to see that number a little bit higher, but it's within the range, at least for the last month or so. So not terrible, but also not great. Same time last year, 1,068 listings. This is definitely, I think, a lot of people are getting scared by the headlines. Some of them are getting priced out of the market, and some are just moving to the sidelines to see what's going to happen. So we are seeing fewer new transactions going under contract this year versus last year. The number of price reductions, which is something that I've been tracking recently, we are at 712 price reductions for the previous week. Of those, 659 are still active, and were still active, and 53 did go under contract. That's compared to the previous week, 712 this week. The previous week was 595. So we are seeing more price reductions. And that, I believe, is the result of folks, agents and sellers not being realistic about what's going on in the market and being too aspirational in their pricing. They're having to do a price reduction. They're probably going to have to do a couple more in order to get into that zone where homes are actually selling. It's not that they're pricing it less, that they're having to go under market value based on the comparables. It's just that they need to be brought back down to reality. So I did break that out. You know, the cheap price reductions that were less than $10,000. For those that were over $10,000, 596 out of the 712. Over 25,000, 272 of that 712, and that were over 50,000, 101 did price reductions of more than $50,000. And I did look again, and those are numbers, those are homes that are priced at like 7.8. A couple of them are in 7.8, maybe the 9s, and then the balance of them are all over $1 million. So it makes more sense in that context. The other thing that I look at for a healthy market is the bumpable transactions, the number of bumpable transactions. So that's I'm writing an offer on a home, and it's subject to the sale of my home. I don't have a contract on my home yet. It may not even be on the market. And in a normal, healthy market, these are possible transactions. It's possible to get these deals to go through. In the market we've had for the last year and a half, near impossible to do. So we did have 74, a total of 74, and that was compared to the previous week, which was also 74, so those numbers aren't going up. And of the 74, 21 of them were brand new this last week. So that presumes that 21 of them either moved to pending or they might have sale failed. Those sellers weren't able to sell their home, those buyers weren't able to sell their current home in order to perform on that next purchase. So the property went back to the active market. Average days on market did go up. So we're at 14 last week and we hit 16 this week. Last year it was 15. And then the median went from 5 to 6. Last year it was 5. So this is the first time that we've had both the active and median this year higher than what it was last year. Average sale price was pretty good this week. If you remember last week, the average and the median were somewhere around like 7.3 and 7.4%, comparing, the roughly the same week, 2022 to 2021. This week we had 658, 662 versus 582, 578 last year. That's a 13.3% increase, and the median came in at 582 versus 519. That's an 11.9% increase. So doing pretty good as far as the average sale price. Again, these are for transactions that went under contract like 3 to 6 weeks ago. The average sale price is a percentage of the asking price. On average, folks got 2.4% higher above the asking price, and the median came in at 1.1% over asking price. So we've been seeing that number consistently shrink. Last year, those numbers were 103.7 and 105.05. So 5% for the median over asking price last year. This year, 1.1%. So that's been kind of a consistent theme that we've been seeing. Last year is definitely outperforming this year as far as the asking price or offers going over the asking price. And we know that we're not seeing multiple offers on each property, and we're not seeing those insane offers that we're going way over asking price and waiving all their contingencies. Those days are gone. So that's what I have for you this week. I will have a report out next week, but it's probably not going to be very much news in it, unless there's a surprise or two. This week is going to be a sleepy week, and I think next week is going to be a sleepy week as well. It always is, but I am around. I'm always stick around for the holidays just in case. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about what's going on in your specific neighborhood. And what we can do to make sure that if you're thinking about selling, we prepare your home for the market so that it performs better than the competition, and that you get the best price and sell as quickly as possible. It is still possible to sell in this market. And if you're thinking about buying, yeah, there's some opportunities coming up the next couple of months while things kind of settle out with interest rates and, well, we'll see. who knows where those rates are going to land. They went up to 6 last week or the week before, and I've seen them come back down to like 5.5 again. So, you know, every time the Fed raises the rates, there's that knee-jerk reaction. Everyone kind of freaks out, and then it kind of settles back down again. So anyway, feel free to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. And if you know someone who would find this information helpful, I would love it if you would share this video with them. And then if you had some thoughts or experiences that you'd like to share, throw them in the comments down below. I will definitely read them and share my thoughts as well. All right, we'll talk to you next week.